All right, let's start the morning with the Ghanaian Times. A government committed to free senior high school policy. The vice president there talking. And then government, 12 labor unions form committee to deal with tier 2 pension issues. And aftermath of the ruling by the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea verdict, Ghana meets Cote d'Ivoire. That's the story on the Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide says Mahama snubs journalist after deadly crash. The biggest story on the front page of the Daily Guide. That's the story there. And then quick look at the Heritage. The same story. ASEP is saying that the ruling is victory to woo investors into Ghana. The BNFT says Bank of Ghana maintains policy rate, citing inflationary pressures. And the Statesman talks about who leads NDC in 2020 better than Muhammad. That's Backman talking there. We'll take a look at all those stories on some of the newspapers. My guest to do the talking to my extreme left member of parliament for the Lojokuku constituency in the Greater Accra region, Dr. Bernard Okuboy. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I hope you're great.
Yeah, by His grace.
Okay, good for your time. And I'm sure when you come, you didn't use the Tessie Link Road.
Yeah, the Tessie Link. I know the road is in a bad shape. We've written to the Roads Ministry. I've talked to all those who are in power, like who have the power to do something
to deal
about
with
it. And it's my prayer that within the shortest possible time, something takes place.
We'll see some action on that road. We're grateful, and we'll continue to ask that.
Yesterday I was at the hospital to see a relative. Accessing the hospital, the Lekma hospital was a big problem, and a lot of patients complain. But we are hoping strongly that, despite the legacy debts that my brother gave to us, something will be done about it.
All right, we're grateful. Then also member of parliament for the Mian constituency, a member of the NDC, Honorable Abdulaziz Mohammed. Good morning too.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing great.
I'm good.
I'm sure you just returned from your constituency.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So, how's your constituency doing?
Very peaceful. Very peaceful, and everything seems to be moving as planned.
And how is their response to the FSHS? Can you ask?
Well, I'm sure there are some schools in the
limping free senior high.
But at least it's
limping free senior high.
But it's moving forward.
Limping,
but moving
the graduated free senior high.
All right. Honorable members of parliament, I'm grateful for your time. Let's start this morning with this story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Please let me have the Daily Graphic.
Yeah.
Yes. The story is suggesting that taxes choke fuel prices. Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is saying that now 11 different taxes on petroleum products in the country have sparked calls on the government and other stakeholders to eliminate some of them, described by a section of the motoring public as falling in the category of nuisance taxes. Now, Daily Graphic's thorough assessment revealed that for every litre of petrol now sold at 4.39 cedis, there was a tax component of 2.17 cedis. That constitutes about 49% of the ex-pump price. This means that with the current daily national consumption of 10.2 million litres of both petrol and diesel, the government backs 27,132 million cedis a day. This is what has forced the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers to call on government and other stakeholders to rethink some of the taxes in order to review the prices downwards. Mr. Dankanamwa said the Chamber took a very serious view of the recent increases in fuel prices and called for a review of some of the taxes. So they mentioned some of the taxes as 41 pesos energy debt recovery levy, 40 pesos per litre road fund levy, energy fund levy of 1 Ghana per litre, price stabilization and recovery levy of 12 pesos per litre, a primary distribution margin of 7.5 pesos per litre, and a bulk oil storage and transportation company margin of 3 pesos per litre. These are some of the taxes and levies. Now, the energy minister has reacted to this. Now, he is suggesting that the government has little control over over the rising fuel prices. The international market component is usually a demand and supply function, which is often affected by other geopolitical developments across oil producing countries, he said, when asked to respond to the multiplicity of taxes on fuel. That's what the energy minister said. Now, he said that it will not be proper to isolate one variable in the fuel price build-up without a comprehensive analysis of the price. That is when he was told that there are other factors that causes the price to go up. COPEC, however, disagreed and said it was worried that the many taxes which continue to exist on petroleum products whose actual use or basis for collection was non-existent. That's the story so far. Daily Graphic has that story as the biggest one on it. Let's quickly look at it. Honorable Aziz, let me begin with you. The government is suggesting, for instance, that the price of crude on the international market is the reason for the continuous increase in prices. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is saying that no, it is taxes and perhaps it mentions the exchange rate. Now, how do we deal with this issue of fuel price increases?
Good morning to you, Bright, and good morning to our viewers, especially my constituents back in Mel. This is a very sad development that the government that should know better about the workings of the petroleum sector seem to be playing politics with this very sensitive matter. You would recall that before the NDC left power, January 7th this year, fuel prices were somewhere 3.6 a gallon. Today, as we speak, it is inching towards 5 Ghana cedis per gallon, and that is regrettable. We are looking at an economy where we are largely dependent on the petroleum sector. Now, when you talk of the petroleum prices, 3 factors comes into play in determining the prices of fuel. One has to do with the world price of crude oil,
right,
the exchange rates, and also the taxes that are embedded in the pricing. What we don't have control over is the international price of crude oil. That one is a fact. But we have every duty as a government to work towards a very stable cedi-dollar relationship. And that one is a variable that government can influence. One other variable that is at the doorsteps of government has to do with taxes. Today, we are being told that government can do very little about it, and only citing the world price of crude oil as a basis for the increase that we are seeing today. That is unforgivable. As a country, we have always talked about trying to depoliticize the pricing of petroleum. And that's why the sector has been deregulated fully. And so the market forces determine the prices. But like I indicated, government can influence that through the reduction or removal of some taxes. I remember this government prior to coming into office described some taxes as nuisance taxes and had promised to do away with all those nuisance taxes. This was a government that pledged, even in their manifesto, to move the economy of this country from taxation to production. Let me give you a very clear example. The energy sector debt levy, the ESLA,
right,
that was introduced by the President Mahama regime in 2015 to deal with the accumulating debt in the oil sector. That levy was supposed to last for just 5 years. 5 years. There was a sunset clause, not going beyond 5 years. And so it was expected that by the year 2019-2020, that tax would have gone off.
To pay off the debt.
To pay off the debt. Today, government is considering going for a facility of $2.4 billion to be able to clear those debts. And what they are seeking to do is to use ESLA as a collateral for 15 good years. And so if this was a government that thought that they were going to move the economy from taxation to production, there's a sunset clause in ESLA that limited the collection of that tax to just 5 years. This same government is seeking to move it to 15 good years. Of course, that would mean coming back to parliament. But it only tells you that you don't say one thing in opposition, and when you win power, then you do a different thing altogether. I remember somewhere in 2015, when His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, then the running mate to candidate Akufo-Addo, went to Upper West region to meet the leadership of the NPP in 2015. That was on the 18th of May. In fact, petroleum prices had been increased by some 8 to 9% on the 17th of May 2015. When Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the economic magician that we have in this country, except that his magic prowess vanished as soon as he became the vice president. When he went to meet the leadership of the NPP in Upper East on the 18th of May, these were some of the remarks that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia made at that meeting. And with your indulgence, I'll just try to read some portions of what he said. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice presidential candidate to Nana Akufo-Addo for the 2016 election, has described the current NDC administration as the most incompetent, uncaring, and corrupt government in the history of Ghana. We owe it a duty to the people of Upper West region and to the people of Ghana to make sure that we change this government in 2016. We owe it a duty to this country to change this NDC government. Now, coming down, this was what he said. Why do I say this government is the most uncaring? Last night, I received the news, as all of you have received, that upon all the troubles we are going through with Dumso and with Ghanaians trying to survive this phenomenon, they have inflicted upon us for the last 3 years. They have decided to increase the price of fuel by 9%. How uncaring can you be? This is the government that said, I care for you. Where is the care? These were the words of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, then running mate to Akufo-Addo in 2015, sorry. According to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, it was the NDC, and for that matter, President Mahama, that increased fuel prices then. Today, when you talk about fuel prices, they want to refer you to the industry. They want to refer you to a formula that has been established. All that I'm seeking to say is that we must maintain consistency. You don't say one thing in opposition, and then when you win power, then you want to change the song that you sing. This is the most deceitful government that we have ever seen in the history of this country. That petroleum prices that were selling just around 3.6 is inching towards 5 Ghana cedis for a gallon. They have a duty
for a liter.
For a liter. No, for a liter, sorry. For a liter. They have every duty to respond to the cause of the ordinary Ghanaian, to do everything within their means. And like I indicated, they have control over taxes. They have a duty to maintain a stable cedi-dollar relationship. I am surprised that his economic prowess got vanished as soon as he was sworn in as the vice president of the republic.
All right. I'm grateful. Honorable Member of Parliament for the Mian constituency. Dr. Okuboy, is government able to deal with fuel prices?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me say a very good morning to all your viewers, especially to my brothers and sisters watching from the Lajogu constituency. Let me also say good morning to His Excellency President Akufo-Addo for doing a very good job at the UN, having made one of the most fantastic deliveries in recent times. My brother, I want to state some things. I want to make some things clear, some facts. First of all, this government has not introduced any new tax on petroleum on assuming office. This is a fact.
Right.
Every tax on petroleum or petroleum prices predated this government. Number two, this government has abolished the excise duty on petroleum on assuming office. One of the nuisance taxes we talked about, together with the 70.5% on imported medicines, 5% real estate, 70.5% on financial transactions, 70.5% on air tickets. this government is on record. As to the extent of impact on petroleum prices, we can talk about that. Okay. But it's a fact that excess on petroleum are abolished. It is actually paradoxical and interesting that you have a brother here from the same party that actually introduced new taxes on petroleum when they were in power. My brother, this government came and inherited an economy that was hugely challenged. And it is one of the most important reasons why Ghanaians voted them out of power. Number one, the debt portfolio of this country was one of the biggest in our country's history. 9.5 billion Ghana cedis. That was the total debt stock as we were exiting 2008. Within 8 years, it had ballooned to 122 billion Ghana cedis. Over close to 2,000% increase by the Asiedu government. In 2012, the deficit in this country, fiscal deficit, 12.3%. 2013, 11.9, 11.7. Double-digit deficit 3 consecutive years, unprecedented in the history of this country. We had a cedi that was highly stretched. It was one of the worst performing currencies in the world. Why am I saying all this? It's to tell you that the health of our economy was in a bad shape.
Right.
And this government is finding all possible means to ensure that as we roll out our policies, which involve a lot of expenditure, we also make sure that our revenue streams are protected as much as possible. The debt situation, I've talked about that. Petroleum. As a country, we came to a point where we said that we have to take off government's hand when it comes to petroleum prices.
Right.
The practice was that government, when there's an increase on the world market, will say that, oh, I've absorbed the increase. So we introduced subsidies. And what was happening? We're having huge debts that were having a negative impact on the economy. So this policy of deregulation was implemented by the Asiedu government, of which this, my brother, is a part. So they told us that the way to go as a country, and in fact, when they proposed, everybody accepted it that, look, let's go beyond this politics with fuel. Let's deregulate it. The truth also is that beyond the prices on the world market, the performance of the government can have an impact on the prices.
Right.
The stability of the cedi. When the cedi is not performing well, it will lead to high rates of the, petroleum prices. World prices is one of them. Taxes is also a component. Now, why do we have this argument this morning or this debate? I think petroleum consumers are saying that we should take a second look at the taxes.
Right.
But it's good to remind everybody that they are not talking about newly introduced taxes when this government assumed power. They are talking about inherent existing structural taxes over the years. And that is the debate that I welcome. We should all look at it. The only problem is that when you look at the debt situation in all sectors, in the road sector, over 20 billion debt stock. In health insurance, the health insurance was virtually collapsed to 1.2 billion. We have cleared close to 80%. When you go to every sector, my brother, my brothers have they've left us a huge debt stock. How do you clear the debt? We have to generate revenue. At the same time, we have to make sure that we don't put untold hardship on our people. So what we are dealing with is an inheritance that came from them. And we accept the challenge that Ghanaians voted for us to work on the situation. And that we are going to do. I think going forward, the minister has indicated clearly that we'll look at ways beyond the petroleum, the excise duty, which we've taken away. We see how to address others. Only that we are careful not to reduce our revenue so much that it negatively impacts on the overall performance of the economy. He talked about petroleum prices. In 2016, the prices went up over 2-3 times. Nobody complained. Do you know why? Because as a nation, they have told us that there's automatic adjustment formula. So if now he is going back to do petroleum politics, I'll just remind him that they gave us a treatment plan, which we've taken over the past 18 months. We are doing so well. I encourage him to stick to the same treatment plan they gave us. It's helped the country. The cedi, everybody knows that the cedi has performed creditably in the past 8 months that we took the reins of power. And we intend on maintaining so. Quickly, before I land, Dr. Baumia, he said he does not know where his economic progress has gone. Inflation, as at the end of 2016, was 50.4%. As we speak, it's around 12.03. The deficit, the on cash basis, into end of 2016 was 9.3, 10.9 double digit on commitment basis. As we speak, we are hovering around 6.7 deficit. We have estimated.
So the indicators are going.
But everybody knows the indicators exactly, and there is no way you can separate Dr. Bawumia and the economic management team from the indicators, the positive indicators we are getting. You understand? First quarter of this year, the growth rate was 6.6. Compared to last year, it was 4.4. Every sector you take, we are doing well. Everybody knows that things have become stable. Look at the performance of the city. Now, look at the, how do you call it, performance in the energy sector. Largely, supply has become stable. We are now looking at affordability. That's why we signed the liquefied natural gas and all that. So, as for the economy, Dr. Bawumia is in, how do you call it, is in charge. The indicators are very positive. And I'll urge him, Ghanaians know that the gentleman is very credible, His Excellency. So when they speak in a manner that tends to undermine his authority and competence, it does not inure to their benefit as a body.
Honorable Kobo, if the indicators are right, do you think that the ordinary person on the street cares about indicators if fuel prices keep rising?
In the economy, everything, you look at it in the way, the one who buys fuel might or would have a child who is going to benefit from the free SHS.
Right.
In a year, if the government pays 3,000 Ghana cedis in a year, 3 times for your child who is in the boarding house, and then you are spending 500 Ghana cedis extra on fuel, what is the net gain? You pay 500 more on fuel in a year, and then within that same year, government has paid 3,000 for your child. The net benefit is what? 2,500 Ghana cedis.
I see.
What I'm trying to say is that there are places where there will be shocks, negative shocks, like an increment in fuel. There are places where there are positive shocks, like having benefit
free,
from
senior high school.
Air tickets. The prices in air tickets dropped. Why? Because of the 70.5% we took away. As we take away taxes in certain places, there are other places that might have an increment. But the most important thing is to ensure that the overall performance of the economy is such that citizens have positive, how do you call it, shocks than negative shocks.
I see.
Right.
Before Honorable Aziz comes in, did you also say, for instance, that some of the taxes will have to be left because government needs to make sure that you don't unnecessarily touch on the revenue of that you need to
Yeah, those who mentioned this debate want us to look at taxes that have been on board
fuel price.
Yes, they've been there, not now, for a long time. And I said we've taken one component. Someone say it might not be significant, but the issue is that when you only realize that you have to hasten slowly in
because of revenue.
Because of the debt situation. You know what? When we were having challenges with energy, when we were having a doomsday, you remember the West African gas, the CEO told us that we were owing, Dr. Bawumia was the first to make that revelation, we were owing over $120 million. And that was why Nigerians cut supply to Ghana. So he was the first to let us know that the doomsday was not totally a technical problem. It was a financial problem. So the legacy debt in the energy sector is so huge that any withdrawal of taxes can actually worsen the situation. Which one do you choose? Stable power or a rush in taking off taxes? You understand? So going forward, we'll look at it. But for now, we are interested in stable, affordable electricity. And that is why we don't want to waste. And most of the taxes were introduced by them. The taxes is talking about.
You have the chance to remove them now.
Yes, we'll do so.
Okay.
We'll just need some time.
How was it?
Right.
So he's found some answers to the issues.
My friend says that they will do so. Let's hope that they do so. You see, I would want to advise you that it is proper that in engaging in some public discourse, we do away with the extreme partisanship and propaganda and speak to the facts. Now, any question that you raise today about the economy, then they refer to Free Senior High School. About health issues in this country, Free Senior High School. The Free Senior High School has become the answer to every question that you ask the MPP today.
It is not?
It cannot be. Let me just share some few numbers with you, and I would want you to check. Even if when you leave here, you can go and check.
Is it from the social?
Now, when you talk, no, just take it easy. Take it easy. When you say you inherited a very challenging economy, and that you inherited a debt of 122 billion Ghana cedis debt
From 9.5.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But see, you don't. When you calculate the time value of money, 9.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2009 cannot still be 9.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2017. Now we are talking of $122 billion debt that you inherited, and you promised your government, when you were in opposition, you promised that you will not borrow at the rate and manner we're doing. Just in 6 months in government, you have borrowed close to 20 billion Ghana cedis. The debt levels of this country today has moved from 122 billion Ghana cedis to almost 140 billion Ghana cedis. Tell me what we have used those monies for.
I have the answer.
Just take it easy for me. Now, when you talk about debt, you must context it. The NDC and President Mahama can point to very clear, visible projects that these debts went into. You cannot talk about 122 billion debt when you tend to ignore the Atuabu gas plant that is processing gas for our power sector. You cannot talk about 122 billion debt when you want to ignore the fact that we moved access to safe drinking water from around 50% to around 80%. You cannot talk about 122 billion Ghana cedis debt when you want to ignore the fact that we moved access to electricity from around 56% to over 80%, only next to South Africa. You can't. In fact, between 2009 to 2016 December, we had constructed about 190 senior high schools in this country. Over 1,600 schools that were operating under trees have been removed. And so when you talk about 122 billion Ghana cedis debt, you must context that. Look at the investments that we made into the health sector. You are a doctor, and you know the Chiefs compounds, the Legon Hospital, the police hospital, a lot of investments went into the infrastructure of this country. And that's what we can point to anytime you talk about the 122 billion Ghana cedis debt. Tell me that for the 6 months between January and June this year, the loans that we have contracted amounts to almost 20 billion Ghana cedis.
If this government has argued that it is used the loans contracted to service.
No, that is not true. When you take fresh loans to go and reprofile your debt doesn't go up because you are taking loans to deal with old ones. It's only when you take loans to finance projects, to finance your budgets, that is when your debt levels go high. And go and check from Bank of Ghana. It is a fact that the debt of this country has moved from 122.
Yeah. I think the bank released the last figures in
I'm making a point here. If you were to continue at this rate, what it means is that for 2017, the MPP would have borrowed 40 billion Ghana cedis. If they were to continue from this trend of doing around 20 billion for 6 months, one can reasonably guess that you would have borrowed around 40 billion Ghana cedis for 2017. Okay. And let's also strike that same argument that, God forbid, I don't see you guys doing more than 4 years. But do 40 billion by 8 years, the 8 years that we're in power, and you are castigating us for 122, from 9.5 to 122, about 112 billion Ghana cedis.
Right.
If you were to be in power for that same period, you'd have borrowed around 300 billion Ghana cedis. And so when they talk about debts, incurring debt, you guys don't have the moral right. And now you're talking about fiscal deficits. Go and check the fiscal deficit for 2008 when you were leaving power. It was 24.4%. That was what your government led for us. Go and check the data.
All right.
Go and check the data.
Let me get Dr. Soboy to react quickly, and then we can move on to another issue. Okay, briefly.
Take it easy. So challenge all the things I have said, all the projects. Yes. I have accounted for the 122. Okay. Account for your 20.
Okay, Dr. Soboy. So, I don't know why we have shifted from fuel to debt. I wish we would.
The 122 is a nominal figure. The way to appreciate it better is to mention the percentage, the debt to GDP. It was under 50%. By the time they were leaving, it was 72.1%. It means that our debt stock was about 72.1 of what we had, the total market value in this country. My brother, I'm happy you answered him.
Fuel prices.
Oh, come.
Fuel prices.
You raised us. I'm answering
Fuel
you.
prices.
Calm down. I was quiet when you were talking.
I'm just reminding you.
I was quiet.
40. You are diverting from the main discussion.
Is this, calm down. the amount of money needed to service the debts that my brother they left for us, the legacy, is 14 billion this year, 2017. We need 14 billion Ghana cedis to service debts that you left us. So like he said, in servicing those debts, we don't want to increase taxes or resort to central bank printing of money like you did, which short inflation up.
Oh, there
so
was zero financing by the Bank of Ghana. Are you aware?
So it's your,
there was zero financing by Bank of Ghana. I'm just trying to correct you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to correct
all right.
you.
And then
there was zero financing by Bank of Ghana.
Let's talk about
last. You know, I'm happy you mentioned Atuabo Gas, the rich hospital, cheap compounds. Dr. Baumia answered them. There was a nice question posed to them. And even the audit of how they lost the election, they've told them. Dr. Baumia told them, whenever they ask you what you did with the over 48 billion Ghana cedis you've inherited in 8 years, they point to Atuabo. They point, and Dr. Baumia said something. The cost of Atuabo, rich hospital, and Dubai, the second flyover, is less than 8 billion Ghana cedis. So the question is that where is the rest of the money?
By whose calculation?
No, but the cost. No, please. We know the cost. We know the cost of
I don't want us to go there because there are issues
the value of nothing.
Yes.
Okay, so you wrap up for me. Let's shift to another issue. I'm getting it.
In wrapping up, the what my brother should know and what every Ghanaian
on the fuel prices.
Yes, on the fuel prices, is that as a country, we all look forward to having as minimal taxes on our petroleum as possible.
So reduce it.
But the removal obviously ought to be graduated so that the shocks on the overall performance of the economy is not drastic. That is important.
Okay, I'm grateful. Otherwise, let me have the Finder newspaper. Let's quickly deal with this one. Story on page 2 says NDC blows 317 million oil cash. Money meant for capacity building was spent on social intervention. Sector still faces acute skills shortage. Now, we are told that while lack of expertise continue to hinder Ghanaian companies from exploring opportunities in the oil and gas sector, government splashed a whopping 317 million cedis on capacity building between 2011 and 2016. Now, despite this colossal amount, Ghana continues to grapple with unskilled technical labor, giving room for expatriates to snap lucrative jobs in the sector. Now, capacity building is one of the 4 priority areas that benefit from the yearly allocation of oil revenues, which are to be directed at initiatives to enhance the skills of Ghanaians to be able to manage the oil sector. We're also told that some of the money from the oil sector were spent in certain areas that were not programmed for. So you can have institutions like Venture Capital Trust Fund, Microfinance and Small Loan Center, National Youth Employment Program, National Disaster Management Organization, National Youth Authority, all of them gaining. For instance, we're told that in 2011, 750,000 cedis was used to build laboratories at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to train students studying chemical engineering. Maslock, 35 million, NYEP, 15 million, 8.1 million for LEAP, 5 million for venture capital. BCE had about 3.5 million. School feeding program 23.5, senior high school subsidy 34.5, and it goes on and on and on and on. That's the story on the Finder. Dr. Kubo, let me begin with you. The misapplication of these funds, the oil revenue is particularly targeted at certain projects, and yet we find increasingly government compelled to spend the money on some other programs. Perhaps, is it poor planning, or we're not managing our resources well?
I think I'm happy you asked whether it's poor planning or we are not managing our resources well. When you look at the PIAC report over the past 7 years, in fact, your heart would ache if you look at how we are spending revenues from petroleum. In fact, the latest one, there was 2 million Ghana cedis spent on research in the music industry.
Yeah.
How to make 2 million Ghana cedis on research in the music industry. And like you quoted, most of the amounts.
Yeah, 2 million for music in 2012.
Yes. You understand?
Support for the creative industry.
The music sector or industry is a very important one. The arts is crucial. Every sector is important because every sector has great potential. But the quantum of the amount and the impact it had What was the impact when they did the monitoring evaluation report? Nothing like that. In fact, it took the report for even some members within Musica to know that such an amount of money was given out. It is not the amount of resources that will determine our future as a country. It is how we use the resources. And this has been the argument of the then candidate, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, that this country is blessed with timber, gold, we now have oil. But we still are going down when it comes to our GDP, it comes to employment and all that. Why? Because of the use of resources. And my brother, don't be surprised. I don't want to bore you with some of the scandals we had in the past. But this is the point I want to make strongly. Recently, when we won our case against Ivory Coast at the ITLOS, the International Tribunal of Law of the Sea, most Ghanaians, or let me say every Ghanaian was excited. Why? Ghanaians are excited because they expect that at the end of the day, some of the oil will have an impact on their lives. That's why everybody is excited. Not for the namesake that we now also have oil or produce oil. In 2015, the interest payments on our debt was 4 times what we got from oil. In 2015. In 2016, all that we got from oil, about 1.2 billion. The interest we had to pay on debts in this country was 6 times what we had from oil. What am I trying to tell you? Our economic management and behavior had drowned what we even benefit or get from oil. That's why people go like, we now produce oil, but we don't see any positive impact. So until we start applying the oil resources in a judicious manner, Ghana will find more wells, drill more oil, and yet will be worse off. But I thank God that this country now is in the hands of a government that is very, very cautious about how they spend our resources. I'm very happy that we now have a government that is interested in the equitable distribution of our wealth through policies that will touch people irrespective of their religion, their boundary, their region, or political orientation. I am happy that with this current government, we decided to continue and work in tandem with the erstwhile AG, the outgone, to make sure that we won the case. All I'm saying is that, my brother, the finding of new wells and the drilling of oil will not affect us positively unless we are judicious with the use, especially with such revelation. Do you know that PIAC suffered a lot of funding problems for the past 8 years? He's here. Check the parliamentary reports. They've always complained that they are not giving enough funding so they can adequately do their job. Now, if the one you are supposed to supervise or to check is the government in terms of how they use the money, and they are denying you your funds, what is the inference?
I see. You
have to draw it yourself. But this time, this government is going to resource them adequately so that they ensure that our oil is put to good use.
I'm grateful. So, Honorable Aziz, you can quickly check this one. 34.5 million for senior high school subsidy. We're told that it went into payment for senior high school subsidy and implementation of progressively free senior high school. 23.5 million for school feeding. 16.6 for capitation grant. It goes on and on and on. The suggestion is that these funds will need to be used in a way that will be beneficial.
Yes, we will need to. But even before I go into the substance of the story, Bright, look at the heading of the newspaper. NDC government blows 317 million Ghana cedis oil cash. But when you read the story, that's not what you get. The story is entirely different from the heading. And that is worrying, that you don't use your newspaper to unnecessarily antagonize a political party, mislead your readers, because we are not giving the papers out for free. You sell them. And so content is very, very important. It is misleading and nothing beyond what I would describe as extreme propaganda. And I can see my friend Dr. Oko is feeding seriously into the propaganda of the newspaper. This should not be taken so serious. I mean, this newspaper with that, what they do. No. I've just told you. Look at the heading. Okay, NDC government. There's nothing NDC about this.
We're told that out of the 317 million allocation made for capacity building, about 70% was used to fund various social interventions in the education sector, while part was given as support to state-controlled financial institutions. So it's about misapplying the funds.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there's no anything in this story that talks about using those monies to construct an NDC office or buy a vehicle for the NDC as a party. Nothing beyond. Nothing like that.
2 million on the music industry, where did the money?
Is musical, the NDC.
But you people
I just wanted to establish for the fact that the heading is misleading and that it is intended to tarnish the image of the NDC as a political party. Now let's come to the substance of the story. You see, thanks to President Mills of blessed memory, when we discovered oil in 2007 under President Kufuor in commercial quantities, it took the government of President Mills to take us through the Petroleum Revenue Management Act in 2011 because we needed a very clear legal regime to regulate how we would venture into the oil industry. It was President Mills who led the process, and the Petroleum Revenue Management Act bill was passed in 2011, I think Act 185 or so, and was subsequently amended under President Mahama in 2015. There is a very clear guidelines as to how we can disburse the oil revenue. I don't have the details, but I know for sure about 70% is used for annual budget funding,
the ABFA,
the ABFA, and then the 30% used for the Heritage Fund and the Stabilization Fund. And so we must be interested in knowing whether all these expenses falls within what they were required to do. I'm happy that, for instance, nobody has been accused of diverting state funds. Perhaps what they did was to do some vying, spend those monies in areas that are not clearly spelled out in the law. And those ones we can interrogate that. To the extent that nobody diverted state funds into his personal accounts and stuff like that, my worry is not that much. Of course, we should learn to go by the dictates of the game. For instance, why do you expect the schools to staff for the payment of a capitation grant, introduction of progressive free senior high school? You don't expect some of these interventions to come to a standstill simply because we don't have money. We have money in the oil account because the law doesn't require you. Okay, the school should not reopen because we don't have money. I think that as a country we can begin to dialogue more about it and see how we can use our oil money. Why today, President Nana Akufo-Addo is hinting that we would fund free senior high school from the oil money. And so what is wrong today if we have used that same oil money to fund education? And you are talking about the musical getting 2 million Ghana cedis. Well, I have always
research done.
Oh,
in improving performance.
You think 2 million is too much. By
no,
what?
I'm talking about the audit. It's not a quantum.
By what measure?
It's not a quantum.
By what measure?
It's the audit report. What does the audit report say? After paying the money,
you may be underestimating the potentials of the creative industry in this country.
No, you see, you've gone off the argument. The point is that what the audit report that you had, how was the money spent? It's not a quantum. It's how the money was spent.
No,
do you have a report to justify?
That becomes a question for Musica to answer. Once those monies were released to them by the state, how those monies were expended becomes a question.
But is the state not interested? After giving them money, yes. No, so what measures did you put in place to make sure that
I'm on the floor? Okay, I'm on the floor. All that I'm telling you is that today.
It's not the floor. This is TV3.
What I'm telling you is that President Nana Akufo-Addo today is seeking to fund the progressively free senior high school from natural resources. Earlier on, Minister Osafo Maafo had indicated that you do so from oil money.
Free,
and so there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong when we did what we are now planning to do. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, let's check some of our comments and then we can quickly.
Says it's better than Mama.
Yes, we'll wrap up on that one. Johnny is just joined us.
Dr. Gobo, is this your road? The road that is causing miscarriage and asthma. Is it this one in your constituency? You have seen it.
This road is very familiar.
This particular one. Okay. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it. We'll ask you 2 questions. But let's look at some of the messages here. Okay. Jerry John Austin from Odoko. Oh, my people have come in because I spoke about Dr. Okoboy. You see what they are doing?
The screen is frozen. But a lot of comments have come in.
Sure, a lot of them
on social media.
But Doc, quickly. Okay, so we're back. Okay. But Doc, the road project, I'm interested in it. We went there last Friday, and it was in a deplorable state. What have they been telling you? How to fix it?
The Teshi Link.
Yeah, the Teshi Link road. Yeah.
I have had assurances from the roads, the Minister for Roads and Highways, that they are putting a package together to make sure a contractor moves to sign. So we are hoping strongly that that happens as soon as possible.
We are also hoping. Anyway.
You are not lucky. I didn't under President Mahama.
Anyway, good morning.
Okay, let's take some comments now.
It says, good morning. The government should organize contractors to build a fence wall in the sea. Maybe that will make the Ivorians believe that the boundary is ours. Daniel Tete and Ashama, really. Good morning, Bright and the entire Newday crew. No amount of window dressing from state management will convince Ghanaians. Fact is, there was recklessness on the part of the board in the software contract. Abdul Baki in Tamale. Jerry John Austin from Odoko says, good morning. We could have free university in the next 4 to 5 years, but our leaders are so corrupt and selfish. With these leaders in charge, Ghana will still be in the lower class. Good morning, Nyonato Etanam from Ho. I love your starting song. Okay, One Love, you say. Free SHS, the big keke, you said. Failure is not the end of the world. How can Prempeh College sack 51 repeated students just because of free SHS? Are they not Ghanaians? From Sir Kabis, New Dubiasi, Zongo. Well, right. Do you know that the difficulties this free SHS has brought the students and parents? Have you realized it? Please, let me use your medium to alert the Ministry of Education and GES. My daughter completed last year in 2016. She couldn't attend, and we want to make it this academic year. Bright, it seems like it's not possible. We visited several SHS. They're refusing to give her admission. Therefore, she is still in the house. Why, Bright? Why? I think that the scheme explained that is for only those who completed this year. Good morning, TV3. Please tell MTN Ghana they are denying the people in Yohini North access to their network. Using MTN makes or receive calls to serve the internet is worrisome to us. MTN, please do something about it before we change our mind. Mahama. Okay, good morning, TV3. You guys are doing a great job. Now, Johnny, unhappiness is a social problem in Ghana. Ghanaians are generally in serious melancholy. We, the members of the Unemployed Teachers Association of Ghana, are not happy people. Joblessness is killing us slowly. Okay, Alasabak, we have heard you. Let's see, AU Farouk in Tamale says, I salute the former AG and the AG for their massive collaboration in winning the disputed maritime case over Ivory Coast. But countries must continue the relations between them to ensure peace is theirs. Good morning, please. Who is in charge of the economic ministries in Ghana? Dr. Baumia, economic power has suddenly vanished because senior minister has been assigned those economic responsibilities. Hence, Dr. Baumia cannot be entirely blamed for our economic woes. Philip Yin. Good morning, Bright. Tell the MPP man to stop referring to NDC when things are tough for them, because they were aware of the problems and even told Ghanaians that they were coming to fix them. So why are they complaining that they came and met the problems from Abu in the northern region? Idris A.B. Fusaini says, good morning, Bright. In fact, this substandard government must do something concerning the frequency of increase in fuel that led to the increase of every one-time item in the market. For example, eggs that we used to buy at 60 pesos now sells at 1 cedi. But I'm highly disappointed about the submission of the MPP man when he made and referred to airfare being reduced, but failed to do something about the lorry fare that are on the increase. Good morning, Johnny and Sina Bright. As a country where the citizenry are the heart of government, policies are made to favor the poor in the country. How come the poor man finds it difficult to fuel his motorbike to go to his farm, market or business? Can't we look at the basic physiological needs before looking at things that will bring us self-esteem? You're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of need. The arguments about decrease in inflation is not washing because it does not reflect in our lives. Theophilus Mark Pensa in Ngolo Kante. And good morning. Is the MPP man taking credit for the positive on the economy and shifting the negatives to the NDC? Didn't the IMF tell us that in 2017 our economy will be stable? He should tell us one policy his government has done this year that has impacted positively on our economy. Jake in Techiman. Good morning, Bright. Tell the MPP man to stop saying that things are stable in Ghana. It's not only stable for the politicians, but for the ordinary Ghanaian in the street. They are only using free SHS to cover their failed promises. George in Takrady. The MPP rep should learn to keep quiet on such a good program. We are not just listening, but learning about policies of government and the reaction of the opposition. Swastik, Bolga, and Zongo. And maybe finally too. Good morning, Bright. The NDC government doesn't care about the masses. They always see to their individual pockets, Kofi from Hohoi. And whereas we have been made to believe that we are enjoying free SHS, government smartly adjust fuel increment, adjust fuel upwards. If you think you will enjoy free SHS, you cannot escape the payment of the fuel increment. Smart game indeed. Alaji Willie P in the few because you are increasing the fuel to collect the money to go and pay for free SHS. But Doc, I'm interested in that road. This morning I said good morning to the president, to the vice president, to the roads minister, to the urban roads people. They know about it. Mo, you know about it too, right? Yeah. But so what happened? 90% complete, and then we left it.
We'll keep asking the transport ministry.
Oh, no, it's not about him, Mo. It's about the pregnant women. It's about the children who can go to school.
We'll keep asking the transport ministry to quickly the road.
You see, Mo says Dr. Okoboy is not lucky.
President Mama was in power beyond 2016.
Please say it to your constituents. Thank you.
We had President Mama for
talk about your roads. Talk about your roads.
I'm talking about the road. The road was in his hands for 4 years, and he couldn't do it for us. We are very hopeful that Nana will do it for us.
Yesterday we saw the roads minister on TV, Mr. Makwata. We certainly will plead that that road is fixed. But unfortunately, we've hit the top of the hour. We have to run up. I wanted to discuss who leads the NDC in 2020.
You know, I just want to have one word on it.
On what? On what?
5
on the road.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
On the road.
Previously.
On the road.
No.
He's promised to fix the road.
Oh, the road. Okay, on the road. Okay.
On the road. So go ahead on the road. And make sure you stick to the road. Just make sure you stick to the road. And don't divert from the roads.
Okay. I am very, very hopeful about that the roads ministry will work on this route so that those visiting the hospitals
will
have
How soon?
Oh, calm down.
As
soon as possible.
Yes.
And let me say a good morning to Mr. Honorable Abambagi.
How soon?
A very good morning to
you. Alan boy.
Alan boy. I am grateful for your time. I get we've run out of time. Abdulaziz Mohammed is a member of parliament for the Mion constituency, a member of the NDC. Dr. Bernard Okoboy is a member of the NPP, member of parliament for the Lejokuku constituency. Gentlemen, grateful for your Tuesday morning with us. Those of you who send in your comment, we're grateful too. We're stepping on the brakes now. The response with Nana Fred after this.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about a very interesting discussion here because not only can you be literate, but maybe you have a challenge reading. And to make it easier for you, Theovision International is finding means of communicating what is in the book for people who cannot read. And so they translate it into visual, audio, and some other forms where you can relate. I have Reverend Theodore Asari, he's the president of Theovision International, and Mr. Edward Entry, he's the COO for Theovision. Welcome, gentlemen, and good morning.
Thank you. Thanks.
So let's get talking. It's interesting that Theovision has been in existence for 28 years and more, and you're in the practice of trying to help people who cannot read. Tell me more about it.
Okay. There are a lot of people we call oral communicators. Okay. Now, oral communicators are not only people who are illiterate or who cannot read, but people who don't use reading as their means of communication.
Okay.
That means it doesn't matter, you've been to school before, but they prefer to communicate orally. And these are the people we are working with and targeting. Right. And in Ghana, there are over 70% of our population who don't actually use reading to communicate or to learn. And they are scattered all over villages and all over the place in the communities. And so we develop contents for these people so that they can also know what is available, what is going on, and it can lead them to transformation. And that's what we're doing.
Interesting there. Mr. Entry, let me ask you a question. You know, Reverend says it's not only about communicating orally. What are the other forms of communication?
Well, basically, what we use is most of the books have been translated in various languages, and they are sitting in different shelves. And that's the unfortunate aspect of it. So what we do beyond the translation and printing, we go further to put them into audio playback device where people can listen. So the underlying word is listen.
Listen.
So as they do that, it has impact in their lives.
Okay, so I see you have some devices there. Can you just walk us through a bit of what it is?
Yeah. This is the an audio playback device where the audio content is put on it.
Okay.
So for instance, this is a typical Bible, audio Bible. So once you navigate it, it's very easy to listen.
Genesis.
And the good thing is that this particular device is very good for visually impaired.
Right.
Those who are even blind, beyond visually impaired.
Okay.
It's very easy to navigate this. So, and as a matter of fact, these are the people we have. They are unreached people in society. Right. So once we give them this, they can have access and listen to every content that's on print into audio.
Interesting. But you talk about those who are blind, as it were. So I'm assuming that device has some braille features on it where they can touch and feel and then navigate through.
Sure.
Yeah, it's made in such a way that your fingers feels the navigating buttons.
Okay.
So you can actually know where and when. And with the Bible, you can move from book to book, chapter to chapter. And in the language you prefer to listen to. And it's also solar. You don't need power for them. And so you can use them anywhere.
Of course. And in Ghana, where the sun shines all the time, definitely you can use it anywhere. But also, have you thought of implementing this or trying to reach a broader scale, even such as in schools, where we have students who can't really appreciate what is being communicated? But maybe if this is put on their device, then they can learn better.
Yeah, as it is now, we have what we call Bible listening group in various schools.
Okay.
Where they meet and then they use this device. This is quite bigger.
This,
what is that?
It's called a proclaimer.
Okay.
It's also a Bible on this device. So they listen to the word of God in their own mother tongue.
Right.
So beyond this, we are trying to program some of the educational materials into device and then use it to communicate to the non-readers, as Reverend indicated.
Right. So, I mean, 28 years down the line, what impact would you say these devices has had on the populace?
A lot. I mean, we are not very much known in the cities, but when you go to the rural areas, we are transforming lives using audio Bibles in the local languages for non-readers. And they come together, they sit, they listen, they discuss, and lives are being transformed. People are becoming, aware of all these bad behaviors, and they are changing from it. Now, we are not only targeting the Christian community, but also recently we did a whole one-year course, which is Bible school for those who can read. And so we have the ability to put materials in a form to reach non-readers, okay, no matter where they are. We have educational materials, we have health materials, we have all the materials you can think of, okay, that people cannot read, turn into audio for them to listen to.
So where do you see Field Vision International in the next 28 years?
The next 28 years, we are seeing Theo Vision to use the skills God has given to us to transform people's life. As I speak to you right now, we have recorded the Bible in 376 languages in 36 African countries right now. So dealing with languages, we are there. And so whatever language you speak, we can communicate with you, we can work with you to bring education, health issue, water issue, whatever issue that is there.
Anyway,
and
you have something to say, a final word there, Mr.
And beyond that, we're also trying to target the deaf. Yes, so what we are trying to do is to get a deaf Bible where they can view. Once you open a particular device, you'll be able to see or get understanding of the Word of God, not not only the Word of God, but any other educational materials will also be put on it so that people will target the entire society.
We also want to even put Ghana's constitution in local languages so that people who cannot read what's going on in Parliament will go down to the people in the rural areas.
Anyway, that's all time will afford us. But thank you so much for giving us insights into what Theovision International is doing. And of course, I hope people buy into the idea and benefit. I'm sure the rural communities are benefiting, but gradually we hope it moves down to the city so we all benefit. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be back. Stay here with us.
Special good morning to you, Mr. and Mrs. Bernard Biltmore Kumi, Bernard and Audrey. You had your wedding last Saturday, and I trust you are enjoying the team as well this morning. Happy marriage to you and to Apostle Oheniba William Kweku Asiedu. You are the Christ Apostolic Church International. You are Eastern B Territorial Apostle. Good morning, a special one to you. Happy birthday as well to you. Let's talk entrepreneurship, because the last time I checked, the World Bank says nearly 48% of our young people are unemployed. That's a big, big, fat issue. We know also that some workers have been laid off by some institutions, but is there a solution? Josephine Aite is with the JA Global Entrepreneurship, and she's a founder and curator. Josephine, good morning. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
And also Fatima Ali Mohammed, she's a speaker for this conference that's coming up, but she's CEO of African Brand Warrior. Yeah. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
You're from Kenya. You're in Ghana.
Yeah, I'm an African brand warrior.
Of course, but how's Ghana treating you so far?
7 years, it's home. I'm now Kosohema as well.
Congratulations.
I was 2 for that, so it's now home.
What is it that you have found to be our biggest entrepreneurial challenge in Ghana?
You know, you started with something that was very key, with what the World Bank talked about in terms of underemployment. Quite frankly, for me, the challenge has been this whole millennial mindset, you know, coming in from an era, you know, and I think Josephine will be able to understand it, where we have this huge age gap between myself and her, for example. Right. We obviously came into life knowing that you strive, you work hard, you get into a job, you learn the ropes, and then you go out and do something.
Absolutely.
Today, millennials are not only the most underemployed, they are not employed.
Okay.
They don't have the knowledge to be able to go out there and put the risks that need to be put out, the capital that needs to be put out. Plus, I think the understanding of the passion of what is the problem that is out there that needs to be addressed. Because being an entrepreneur is about what is the challenge that's out there, right, and what solution do I have for that? And I think that is where the gap comes in.
That's where the gap comes in. There's a bit of whispered to me that there's an issue with mentorship. Yeah. Where you find people who are fully established in the businesses and they have proteges who come to them, but that mentorship doesn't flow. Is that a problem that you've found too?
One of the challenges as an entrepreneur in Ghana and Africa, as Fatima would put it, is the issue of mentorship. And that always comes from the fact that we don't even know the places to go to. So being an entrepreneur means that you need to accept certain things and be able to flow with it. For instance, the issue of leadership. Being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're one person. It only means you have a vision and you need to be able to know how to put the other people in.
Do they understand it that way?
The issue is, no, they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
Why is it so? Josephine has an idea. Instead of bringing us two together to partner with her, she thinks that it's my idea, I need to follow through with it.
Absolutely.
And she's been going that way for 5 years with no response.
See,
why do people do that?
I think that's the key basis of the whole issue, where right now the biggest hype words are entrepreneurship and leadership.
Right.
Yes, they work together, but they're not the same thing. You know, you can have one blind man leading another. And mentorship is key, but you also have to have a willing audience with the right mental attitude to accept the fact that this is a journey. It is not about saying, yes, I start something today, I'm going to be a millionaire overnight. You know, a social guru is not a job.
Right.
We need to understand entrepreneurship is not a job. You have to have a real job, a real product, a real consumer.
Some sort of value you want to give
that
out.
You want to add in. And this is a journey that, you know, I think now
it's
is
also
coming.
a cultural thing. We have issues with, for instance, our educational system.
Okay.
You go to school, you write exams, you pass out, the best candidate come out. We are not able to let people know that it's not just about what you are putting out.
So let me stop you in your tracks and ask you, for 10 years, maybe more, our universities and tertiary institutions have been putting together an entrepreneurship package as part of the program or course structure. Has it been beneficial?
It's been beneficial.
Is the approach, the teaching approach, right? Tell me.
It's been beneficial, but there's a knowledge that you receive, which is what you're given, and what you seek. There's
Absolutely.
a difference. So if you know what to seek, it makes it easier. That is why the platforms
But is that
have,
why people go to school?
that's why people go to
To
school.
get knowledge and to seek what?
No.
No, I guess knowledge, like you said, you go to school to be taught the basics.
Okay.
And as you go, you develop. You know, it's crazy in today's school age. 15-year-olds are expected to know what they want to become.
Right.
You know, which is absolutely impossible to do. So I think it's a journey
I
as
knew what
you
I
go.
wanted to become at age 4 because my dad bought us a book that told us from archaeology to zoology what professions there are.
My background is criminal law and psychology,
Right.
but I am today known as one of the top marketers. Totally different.
Totally different
You know,
thing.
it's as you go, you understand where your passion is, and that's what entrepreneurship is about. What is the passion that you have that you're willing to put the risk and your money in it to know that you have an offering that somebody else doesn't have?
Okay.
And that's what we need to go for. Talking about the universities and what they're doing, you have programs like Dare to Start at East Legon and that. Fantastic. I think it's amazing what the universities are doing. It's amazing what mentors are coming to put in. But like you said, it's not what you're just going to go and get.
Okay.
It's what is it that you're seeking, you know, and that's where we need to give that guidance.
There's a big conference that's coming up on the 3rd of October at the Accra International Conference Center, 9 a.m. to 4:30.
Yes, please.
So let's put these keywords together: motivation, activities, opportunities, threats for the young entrepreneur. You be speaking about brand positioning. Give us a snippet. Run a fine line through this. Let's see.
Let's just say, starting with my company name, African Brand Warrior, that's a positioning statement straight
Right.
away there. Because you position yourself knowing what is the offering that you have, what do you
Okay.
think that you are, and what is it going to make it as unique. So if we look at the students and the people we want to mentor, if you do not take a stand in terms of what do you think your unique selling proposition is, what is it that you're able to offer that is going to make you uniquely different, then you will continue to flow with the crowd and just be one amongst another million. We need to stand out. And what is it that you have that can make you stand out?
Right. That's it. I want you to have the final word and put make students the focus. How
Okay.
do we raise the next batch of entrepreneurs to fill that gap? How do we do that?
There's one way we can do that. Understanding that everybody has a hustle. There's something that you either wake up every morning to, or the dream that keeps you awake at night, or it could be the daily up and downs to keep your lights on. Each other way, we are all trying to be happy, be successful, or have better lives for ourselves and our families. But you can't do this. There's some basic stuff you need to understand as an entrepreneur, which is what we are going to address at the conference.
Right.
Issues of law, the basic policies in the country. So we have some of the other speakers, the immediate former Attorney General,
Okay.
Marietta Upon-Brew. She's
Right.
speaking on the law.
Right.
We have leadership, which is Lucy Quist, CEO of Airtel Ghana.
Okay.
We also have the Deputy Minister
There's
of
Fatima
Investment.
there and the rest. So it's on the
Yes.
3rd of October, 2017, the Accra International Conference Center. Be there. Is it free?
Yeah, it's free.
Absolutely free.
Knowledge
Yeah.
is free.
Thank you, Josephine Aite. She's curator and founder at the JA Global Entrepreneurship, and to you, Fatima Ali Mohammed, as well, CEO of African Brand Warrior. Thank you very much, ladies, for
Thank you
coming.
so much.
And it's a competitive economy, so you need to get the skills, be there and show up. Happy birthday to you, Annette Jackson, your sister to our producer, Anthony Jackson here, and a very special one to you, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Mokumi. I merely said one love. No woman, no cry. Yes, Bernard has a woman, so he won't cry. Now enjoy.
Can bring this unity. People don't let them use or not. Yeah. No woman no cry. No, no woman. No man no cry. I say, no woman, no cry. No, no woman, no woman, no cry. I say, I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown. Surfing again. No woman no cry. No, no woman. Yes, woman no cry. Woman no cry. No, 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 no. Please don't shed no tear. No, no woman. Yes, woman no cry. I say, I remember.
We have been talking about them. A very fine young man and woman there. Very beautiful wedding they had over the weekend.
Who's Bernard?
No, it's not Prophet Bernard. This is Bernard Bokumi. It's
Okay.
one of my friends here, and that's sweet lady Audrey who got married. I emptied the wedding. I had wanted Audrey to lift Bernard because Bernard is smaller than Audrey. But, okay, so just so you know, a book launch is coming up. A book specially written by Honorable Kojo Yanka. It's Our Motherland, My Life. And the launch will happen on the 6th of October 2017 at AUCC campus at Dabraka. I will share some more insights with you as the days run by. But tomorrow is a big day for the Emeritus Professor J.H. Nketia. Tomorrow is a big day for him. The President of the Republic will be there, 2 former presidents, so 2 for as well, to honor him. 96 years. He's been very inspirational and instrumental. His work will be digitized so that those who come after us are able to share in it. But, right, this is something that Wendy sent to us that I think you should see. So you see the guy? The guy's on a motorbike, and it has a kid strapped to his back. Yes, and this happened in Accra.
He's lucky the police didn't get to see
this
him
is it. This is it. No helmet for both of them.
You don't even need the police to arrest you for this. You should know. You should
should-
have that innate sense to know what I'm doing is wrong. If even the child was on the front, that would be way better than having them strapped at the back. This is the Kolebu road from Bishop Bowers there. And
It is not innate sense, though. It's common sense. Not a lot
Let
of
me use
people
innate
have it.
because
So
assuming it's already showing thighs.
so that's it. And finally, maybe we should say good morning to you, Honorable Vincent Odote Soa. This is in your constituency. It's at a place called
and the
Alonte Junction.
Ladma Municipal Chief
Yes.
Executive.
Alonte Junction by the main road. This is for you. Please deal with it.
We are asking him to alert the Chief Executive that this is what is happening.
Don't go and collect it, though. You tell your
alert
chief
them
executive
that this is what
to
is
go and
happening. Laba is a nice place. I don't want them to mess up.
And then the stench that comes there.
Fantastic things around there.
But the stench seems to be everywhere because in East Legon, as I was driving this morning, there's this bad smell around the UPS area.
Anyway, so this is Tilapia's finally, Harriet. Sorry. So if Ghana had lost the maritime dispute, this is a question, away bus equidistantly, and this Talo, well, this is what Dr. Mbia said. If Ghana had lost, well, perhaps Talo would have just moved on to the other side. But they're staying here with us and we're getting the thing. And that's all from us this morning, guys.
I'm here to know whether if I catch a fish in the Ghanaian waters and it slips into the Ivorian waters, what do I have to do?
It's like Ivorian fish, but
you have to
catch
lure
it
it with crumbs of bread so that it comes back, then you can pick it, But Annette Jackson, happy birthday to you. Enjoy special day. We'll see you.
And to Bright, our music, our sound guy.
Oh, Bright.
It's his birthday. He's a
Since he
radio
started
now.
doing radio and TV together, he's getting bald head.
Anyway, guys.
Today's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.